Welcome to week 4, day 3 of our e-learning lessons. Our performance task for day 3. The reader will need to be able to use reading strategies to preview text, make predictions, ask and answer questions, and summarize the text to gain a better understanding of the text. Also, the reader will need to use a variety of strategies to determine the meaning of unknown words in the text. For day 3 assignment, our essential questions. How can I summarize each section of the informational text? How can I focus on the main ideas of each section while it's summarized? Remember that a summary quickly states what the most important thing of the passage is, and you may give 1 or 2 details to go with it. So your writing should only have 1 or 2 sentences in a summary. Quickly state what the most important thing is and give a detail with it. I'm going to do numbers 1, 2, and 3 with you. After I finish 1, 2, and 3, your assignment would do 4, 5, and 6 of reading short passages and doing a quick summary to go with it. And then you'll have to go back and do 2 sections from the magazine article that we read on day 1 and 2 to finish up the summary exercise for today. So all we're doing today is summarizing, quickly telling what was the most important thing about the reading passage and giving 1 or maybe even 2 details to go with it. Let's look at the first one. The first one states, number 1, the English were not the first Europeans to land their ships on American soil. The Vikings had discovered North America in the 11th century. Columbus landed in the Bahamas in 1492 for Spain, and the French began expeditions to the New World in 1524. But the first English presence in North America is important because the 13 English colonies that would later be established eventually became the country now known as the United States of America. So if we're looking at how can I do a quick summary in this part to make it make sense and to really let the reader know what was the most important in this assignment, here's what my summary could look like. And this is what your summary could look like. The English were not the first people to land in America and in the New World is what I'm going to call it. Because back then it was not called America. So we're looking at the English were not the first people to land in the New World. However, they started colonies that turned into the United States of America. So if I'm looking at my information, it could look just like this for number 1. The English were not the first people to land in the New World. However, they started colonies that turned into the United States of America. I didn't give all the information about the Vikings or about Columbus landing in the Bahamas or about the French and the Spanish. I just want to make sure I give the most important part of this short passage. And the most important part was that the English were not the first to land what we call the New World. However, the 13 colonies that they started eventually did become known as the United States of America. Let's look at number 2. In April of 1585, Sir Walter Raleigh, under the authority of Queen Elizabeth of England, sent an expedition of 7 ships carrying 600 men, half of them soldiers, to found an English colony in North America. The colony was to be used to establish an English presence in the New World, as well as a base from which English privateers or pirates could attack and plunder Spanish treasure fleets. Raleigh's cousin, Sir Richard Grenville, led the expedition. So if I'm thinking about the most important thing in this part of the assignment, my most important that I'm going to include in this part. First, you got to tell what was the most important, then maybe give one or two details. The English settled in a place in 1585 so they could attack the Spanish colonies and ships. So looking at what we put, I have one sentence, but it includes everything we need in this one sentence. So if I'm looking at this one sentence, I'll make it a little smaller, make it fit into the screen. The English settled in a place in 1585 so they could attack the Spanish colonies and ships. That is the most important part of what we have. The short passage was talking about Sir Walter Raleigh in 1585. He was there for England, and he had established a place in the New World to try to take over the Spanish who were already there. The Spanish people are spreading out just like the English people are, and the faster they spread out, the more land they can say belongs to their country. So the English want to take over all the land that Spain is trying to say is theirs. So we have a pretty big war going on right now. It's a battle for land in this new world. They're trying to push all the Native Americans out of their land and say it's now ours. So for a quick, short summary, the English settled in a place in 1585 so they could attack the Spanish colonies and ships. Number 3 will be the final one we do together. And then your responsibility is to finish up with number 4, 5, and 6 on your own. And then you have 2 headings that you need to go back and summarize from the magazine article called Amphibian Alert. Let's look at number 3 as a group. In July of that year, the bulk of the fleet reached a small island off the coast of Virginia that was called Roanoke. After building a small fort on the north side of the island, the colonists initiated relations with a Native American tribe that lived on the island, the Agwa-Kagak. These natives showed little interest in building relations with the English colonists, and they soon parted company. After this encounter, however, the English noticed that one of their silver cups had gone missing, and they attributed it to the disappearance to the Agwa-Kagak. Greenville, the English captain, was furious. He believed that the Agwa-Kagak had stolen the silver cup. Whether or not this was true, and angry exchanges followed, and soon the English burned the Agwa-Kagak village. The English held their fort against the subsequent attacks of the natives. So thinking of the most important part of what we just had in that text, the most important parts. The first sentence has to tell what was the most important, and then we have to include 1 or 2 details from the text. The English and Agwa-Kagak didn't get along. And now I'm going to use Greenville's name, the captain. Captain Greenville said that the natives, or that the Agwa-Kagak, stole their silver cup and they battled. So just making it short and simple and straight to the point. It doesn't have to be a paragraph. Quickly state what the most important thing is, and then give 1 or 2 details. The English and the Agwa-Kagak didn't get along. That's definitely the most important part of this reading. It clearly states it through that short passage. They didn't like each other. Captain Greenville said that the Agwa-Kagak stole their silver cup, and they battled. It's quick and short, straight to the point of what's the most important, and my details I included. The first one, they didn't get along. Then they were accused of stealing. We don't know if they actually took the silver cup. Captain Greenville could have just misplaced it and quickly said they stole it. Your assignment is 4, 5, and 6. Then you need to finish up the next two that go back with the article. I'll gladly read each one of them and explain them to you. If you have any questions, please make sure you let me know. Number 4, despite their success in battle, the colonists had a miserable time because they were mainly soldiers and adventurers, not farmers. They were hungry. They missed the comforts of England, such as soft feather beds and dainty foods. Also, they had expected to find gold and silver on the island and were disappointed when they found none. Grenville soon tired of these conditions and set out on his ship to plunder Spanish treasure fleets and return to England. The colony was gradually abandoned. Take time to make sure you put what was the most important thing about this short passage and give 1 or 2 details to go with it. Make sure you use complete sentences with number 4. Number 5. In 1587, Sir Walter Raleigh dispatched a further expedition of 3 ships and 150 colonists, led by John White, to Roanoke. This time, the expedition included women and children, including White's pregnant daughter, Eleanora. Shortly after they reached Roanoke, Eleanora delivered a child whom they named Virginia. Virginia was the first English person born in America. But the English soon ran into more trouble with the Native Americans. A colonist named George Howe was killed by natives while searching for crabs alone on the beach. The colonists were scared. They persuaded White to sail back to England to ask Sir Walter Raleigh for help. White left behind 114 colonists, including his daughter Eleanora and granddaughter Virginia. For number 5, I want you to take time to write what was the most important thing that number 5 was about. And then give me 1 or 2 details about it, and that will include your summary for number 5. Make sure you write with complete sentences. That means capital letter at the beginning and a period at the end. Now I'll gladly read to you number 6. Unfortunately for White and the colonists, England was preparing for a naval war with Spain. All shipping from English ports was ceased. It took White 3 years to get his relief expedition back to Roanoke. When he returned in August of 1590, White found no sign of his daughter, granddaughter, or anyone else. They found 3 letters, C-R-O, carved on a tree, and the full word Croatoan on a nearby post. Possibly this referred to the Croatoan Island, which was nearby. White searched long and anxiously, but failed to find them. For number 6, make sure you give me your full summary. First sentence, tell me what was the most important thing in that short passage. And give me a second sentence, give me 1 or 2 details to go with it. For the last 2 parts of your assignment for day 3, go back into the magazine article that was called Amphibian Alert. Look at habitat loss and pollution and the section called Introduced Species and Fungus. Reread both of those sections. Remind yourself what was each section about, the most important thing about them. And give me a second sentence about details. What details can you prove to tell more about what you're talking about the most important? If you forgot about those articles, there are these 2 pages that you need to focus on. From Amphibian Alert, Habitat Loss and Pollution, reread this section to remind yourself what was the most important thing about that section and give me a detail. Reread Introduced Species and Fungus and ask yourself what was the most important part of that section and give me a detail. So make sure you're taking time to work on your assignments. Once you have finished writing your assignments with complete sentences, make sure you continue to work on your iReady reading and your iReady math minutes. We should have 45 minutes for each one by the end of the week. You can also log on to Myon. There are books already picked for you to read, for you to enjoy. They are all talking about different things that relate back to the text that we're reading about this week. If you have questions, please make sure you reach out to your teachers. We're here to help you and to answer any questions you may have. Thank you for participating in week 4 of day 3's e-learning.